Mr. Frank Woods, Mr. Schaefer,
Present.
Mr. Regis,
Present.
Dr. Ford, Vice Chair Lewis, Chair Thomas.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. We'll turn now to the approval of the March. Sorry, I didn't. Our next business is the approval of the minutes for the March 20th, 2024 meeting. I'll give everybody a couple minutes to take a look at it in case you haven't already done so. Kind of look up and let me know when you're ready to go. We'll ask for a motion on the minutes. So with that said, each month since we submitted them, we've been trying to get an update regarding the status. And today, Ms. Johnson, who is Ms. Parisian's supervisor, is present online. Welcome, Ms. Johnson. Could you please provide our update for us?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so good morning. With regards to the ethics ordinance, our office has completed our review of the changes. I've discussed the matter with Chairwoman Bell. She is in the process of determining how she wants to proceed with those changes to present them to the commission. At this point, she's contemplating creating a special committee to review the changes. So we're just waiting to finalize that process. And once that happens, those changes will be submitted over to that committee for a review. And they'll actually review the entire ordinance. And that will include the revisions from the ethics board.
Well, thank you very much. I have a question, and then maybe some of the other board members have questions as well. Is there any way possible that we would be able, as the board that suggested the changes, is there any way possible that we would be able to get a copy of what has been submitted up to this point in time to consider our proposed changes? There's a couple in particular that the board has been very, very interested in. The board was even interested in it going back some years ago to when the proposed changes were submitted to the commission. And that was long before I was even a member of this board. So would that be possible for us to get a copy of what is being considered in the way of changes?
I will gladly share with you at the appropriate time the additional changes my office is recommending right now. Because the committee has not been established, they have not seen them. So once we get those in the hands of commissioners, we will gladly provide you with all that information as well.
All right. So in terms of substance on individual proposed amendments, there's nothing we stand to learn about those at this point in time. I'll turn the floor over to any members who may have questions for Ms. Johnson. And if nobody has questions, we'll move on to item number 2. Any questions for Ms. Johnson? Dr. Ford? Mr. Regis?
No.
Mr. Regis, just so that the other board members know, I had asked that a copy of the existing ethics code along with our proposed changes be furnished to him. He's had an opportunity to look those over, and you'll get up to speed as we go on and we discuss those changes. No questions for Ms. Johnson? Let's move on to item number 2. Communication dated February 28, 2024, received from Reginald Crawford against Sheriff Raphael Washington, the ethics ordinance, and there's some other documents included in here that are very important. I'll skim over some of the attachment numbers. Communication dated March 11, 2024, received March 11, 2024, from Sheriff Washington's counsel, Todd Perkins, motion to dismiss. We actually heard that motion to dismiss at the March 2024 meeting. And then we have B, communication dated March 22nd, 2024, received from Sheriff Washington's counsel, Todd Perkins, motion to dismiss Reginald Crawford's ethics complaint. You've looked at the minutes from that meeting. I'm going to give a summary of what I remember about the March meeting. At the March meeting, we heard from Mr. Perkins on behalf of Sheriff Washington. We heard from Mr. Crawford, who is in attendance here today. We also had asked that Ms. Hunter play a tape recording that was made public on a news broadcast, and she did so. I had asked that she have that tape available here today. Now, since the March meeting, it was the board's request. I think through me, I actually verbalized a request. We made a request to Mr. Crawford to produce any witnesses at our next meeting that he felt he could produce. There were private individuals from the business community, perhaps a sheriff's deputy or two. And what Mr. Longstreet notified us of probably within the last few weeks, very recently, Mr. Crawford was unable to get any of those witnesses to come in here today. And he's seated in the front row there and he's nodding his head yes. Is that correct, Mr. Crawford? You were unable to get any witnesses to appear here today? Mr. Crawford, please, it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the respect. So we don't have any witnesses, but we do have the tape here to play. Now, Mr. Regis and all of the board members have to be cognizant of the fact that we don't have subpoena authority. That's one of the changes that we proposed to the commission that oversees this board. We can't compel individuals to come in. That works okay when a complainant in a case is an attorney or a professional person who knows about bringing people in for hearings. We had a hearing probably about 2-3 years ago, and the complainant in it was an attorney And he was actually able to produce witnesses. And we had a hearing and we took statements and testimony from them. But we don't have authority to do that. And we made Mr. Crawford aware of that at the last hearing. So today, we are in no different position than we really were back in March. We have his complaint, and he's spoken to us a couple times on the record and then in public comment. We've heard from Attorney Perkins as to why the complaint should be dismissed. So I'm going to turn the chair over to Mr. Longstreet, our counsel right now. I'm going to turn it over to him so that he could address us regarding his recommendations. And if I missed anything in my summary of the March meeting, he can also address that.
I've received on March 22nd an answer from.
Got to turn your speaker on. There.
We have received an answer from the Sheriff Raphael Washington in reference to the complaint from Mr. Crawford. In his answer, he indicates that the sheriff reservist at question in this case, this was a personal relationship, that the gifts that were given was a gift or the campaign donations. It was not a quid pro quo. He also claims in his answer this was retaliation for this sheriff reservist being removed from the program. And at this point, he's asking that he's indicated that there has been not any credible evidence produced in this case to suggest there's been a violation of the Wayne County Ethics Code, that he has failed to meet the standard of proof in this case, which is credible and relevant evidence. And he's asking that the complaint be dismissed. Prior to his answer, his attorney, Todd Perkins, filed a motion to dismiss, indicating that the complainant has failed to meet the standard of proof of credible and relevant evidence. The evidence that was produced in this case was basically information from a WXYZ Channel 7 news report from, I do believe his name is Ross Jones. In this report, he provides information from the sheriff's reservist. He also provides several snapshots from that news report. Based on a totality of what we received, there is an exception to the ethics code in this case, which is campaign donations, that any campaign donations received are not violations of the ethics code. Without further information from Mr. Crawford, I would believe that the exception would apply. And at this point, I don't believe there's been a violation of the Wayne County Ethics Ordinance. And it would be my recommendation at this point, without any further information from Mr. Crawford, that he has failed to meet the standard of proof and this matter should be dismissed.
Mr. Perkins, if you have a burning desire to say something, I will turn the floor over to you, but I will tell you right now, based upon the recommendation from Mr. Longstreet, I'm pretty much prepared to ask if any of the board members want to make a motion. If you want to speak, you're welcome to speak, if you feel it's necessary. You have to approach a microphone, Mr. Perkins.
Good morning. May it please this honorable body. I do not believe, I think subsuming what I've already said, I think the board is more than capable, and based upon Brother esteemed counsel's recommendation, I don't have anything further.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins. All right, from the board members, does anybody want to make a motion? And if so, make it. And let's see if we have a second.
Motion to dismiss the complaint in accordance with the advice of our counsel, Mr. Longstreet.
Do we have a second for that motion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Count me as an aye. Matter is dismissed. I assume, Mr. Longstreet, that you will send out an appropriate letter to Mr. Perkins and Mr. Crawford?
I will.
All right. Let's move on to new business then. Item number one, communication dated April 4, 2024, received April 4, 2024 from Maria, I'm going to kill the last name and I apologize, Hachabaria, Ray, the ethics ordinance sections 40-4 through 40-6 and section 40-2. We have that item, it was circulated to you some time ago, and we have it in the back of the packet that we received for today. And Mr. Longstreet, something struck me about the alleged complaint, and it appeared to me that the complainant was complaining about somebody that ran a private security company and that individual's treatment of staff members. So that's my understanding. You're our counsel. We want to know what your understanding is, and we want to know whether you believe we have authority to become involved in the matter. And if we do, we'd have to send it out for an answer.
Very good. Thank you for the floor. I have read the complaint in this case. It is a complaint referencing a Lauren Lewis and Lauren Williams who works for Sterling Security. Sterling Security is a contracted company at the Wayne County Metro Airport. We don't have any standing or jurisdiction over Sterling Security. It's a private company that is hired by Wayne County Airport. We don't have any control over that company. We don't have any control over that person. We don't have any jurisdiction. And there's really nothing that we can do in this matter. However, the complaint has been filed. The statute tells us we have to provide notice to the complaint. That's about all we can do.
Well, I'll tell you, before we ask for a motion, based upon your recommendation, and I will tell you, I had the same reservations about the complaint. I think that when you send the letter out to Ms. Hechabaria, I think she should be told that the reason that the matter is going to be closed without us taking any action is because we don't have authority over her. For Mr. Regis's benefit, when any individual is brought on board to work for the county in any capacity, they have to sign an agreement that they've received a copy of our ethics code, that they're going to review it and they're going to be bound by it. And if we're dealing with a non-employee, obviously that didn't occur. So we will pay her the courtesy of letting her know why we're not taking any action on the matter. Now, with all that said, anybody want to make a motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That resolves that matter. When you send a copy of that out, since she complained against a named individual, will you be sending that complaint to that individual? I mean, I don't know what.
Well, the statute is actually, excuse me, not the statute. The ethics ordinance just simply says when I receive a complaint that I have to send it out to the respondent.
Okay, then.
That's what it says. I
Okay,
mean,
well-
until it's changed.
I'm sort of sorry that the employer is going to see it and we're not going to be able to do anything about it, but our code is the code. Send it out. Maybe you could even do one letter and copy both people on it. Just a suggestion. All right, let's go to page 2 of the agenda. Item number 2 at the top. Communication dated April 18, 2024. Received April 4, 2024 from Robert Davis, Ray Commissioner Martha G. Scott, violation of the ethics ordinance sections 40-4, G2 and 3 and 4. We also received an answer from Ms. Scott's counsel very recently. I believe it was yesterday or day before, the answer from Ms. Scott, or was it prior to that?
It was either yesterday or Monday.
Yesterday, so you haven't even had a chance to send it out yet?
Pardon me? I did send it
haven't-
out. Send it out the day I got it.
Oh, you send it out to the complainant, to Mr. Davis?
Yes,
All
I
right.
did, the day I got it.
Well, for Mr. Regis's benefit, when we receive an answer to a complaint, if you've looked over the code as you indicated you did, you know that what we have to do is we have to send it out to the respondent for an answer. And we don't take any action on it. Actually, truthfully, this matter really didn't have to come up on the agenda for today because Mr. Longstreet takes care of things like that for us as our counsel. But I put it on the agenda because I wanted you to know that this complaint came in. We're not going to be taking any action on it today. Really no need to discuss it unless a board member wants to. And the complaint will go out to Robert Davis, then we'll get a response from him. And then at our first meeting, which will be next month, because he's going to have 21 days to respond, at our first meeting, at our first meeting next month, we'll be able to consider the complaint and the answer. All right, anybody have any questions about item number 2 at the top of page 2? Nothing really to discuss? Any concerns? No questions, no concerns? Let's move on then to item number 3. Communication dated April 18, 2024 from Ryan Vianati, Ray, requesting detailed information on the county's juvenile jail/youth services ethical infrastructure. Now, I asked that this matter be put on the agenda for today. In all candor, sometimes these communications really don't need to be put on the agenda, but we do have a new member, and I wanted him to know that the process that we follow is triggered by the complaint, and the complaint has to contain certain information. It's got to contain the complainant's signature. It's got to be notarized. It's got to state with some degree of specificity what the allegations are, and it has to contain rule violations. They have to cite rule violations. If you take a look at the communication that we received from the complaint, from Ryan Vianati, it doesn't meet the standard. So what we've done in the past, we have asked that Mr. Longstreet really just address those matters in-house at his office and send them out. We have an informational letter that explains to a potential complainant what we do, where we get our authority from, and then he includes a copy of a complaint form in case somebody wants to file a complaint. But when we receive a communication like that, generally what happens is Ms. Hunter sends Mr. Longstreet and myself, and I always like to include Vice Chair Lewis. She'll send us a copy, we'll get a copy of it, and then Mr. Longstreet will take care of it. But for today, we're not wasting a lot of time or devoting a lot of time to it. I just wanted you to kind of know of the procedure, because there's a lot of things that go on leading up to a commission meeting. Well, I mean, one of our board meetings. Let's move on to item 3E. Is that where we're at, Ms. Hunter? 3E? Such other matters as may be properly submitted by the board. We've heard our report from Ms. Johnson. I think that we still don't have any definite timetable. I believe it's been Mr. Schaefer at each meeting. When we got sort of a no progress report, he said, well, when maybe we expecting to hear something definitive? And I really believe, Mr. Schaefer and all members, I think that today is as close as we've come to getting something definitive. It sounds like it's going to go to the commission. Anybody have any questions or such? Does anybody have any other matters that they want to bring to the board's attention today? I don't hear any outcry. Let's move on to public comments. Ms. Hunter, do we have anybody waiting to make public comment?
Yes, we have a card by Mr. Reginald Crawford.
We have who?
Mr. Reginald Crawford, he'd like to speak.
Okay, very good. And he's identified himself for the record. You have his identification info? Okay. All right. Well, let's hear from him. Sir, I can't see the person. I don't see the person on.
Reginald, Mr.
No,
Crawford.
Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Crawford.
Oh, Mr.
Mr. Crawford.
Crawford. I told you good morning. How did I forget about you? Listen, you've got the floor, but please, respectfully, 3 minutes.
Yes, I guess I'm the invisible man this morning. Good morning, board. Well, first of all, the last meeting was postponed, and I didn't receive a notification. It wasn't on your website. I see the current meeting today, and the previous meetings were posted on your website. So I'm sure you'll make a correction on that, because for someone to come down here and not hear that the meeting was postponed. Today, I personally consider your vote in the issue pertaining to Sheriff Raphael Washington unethical. Again, Vice Chair Lewis failed to recluse herself, being a member of Sheriff Washington's church and also being appointed to your board by Sheriff Washington, and has stated at the previous meeting There's nothing in your ethic ordinance that addresses that. And I concur with that, there's no reason uh, that, or reason that she could be uh, called not to vote. However, I consider it unethical and a lack of her integrity because in Oakland County, the very chair of their ethics board recludes herself in a hearing pertaining to Prosecutor Lucido out there. As a matter of fact, the attorney representing Lucido is Todd Perkins. So today I stand before you and to state that these were campaign donations that weren't filed on the campaign report, finance report. It went beyond donations. And you all heard Sheriff Washington's voice in the solicitation for other mugs and ink pens and even was it wireless chargers. So again, in my opinion, in my comment, this vote was unethical. The behavior of your vice chair is unethical, and she definitely lacks the integrity in this issue and the courage to recluse herself. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crawford, I told you good morning when you came in. I said hi to you. I do owe you an apology, and I will apologize that you did not receive notice on the public website that the meeting scheduled for April was being adjourned. It was adjourned because we didn't have a quorum. We have to have 4 members present to have a quorum. As you indicated, normally in the past, when that has occurred, it's been on the website. I don't know why it wasn't put on the website this time. I can tell you the reason for it may be, and I'm just saying maybe, because we found out that we weren't going to have 4 members in very close proximity to the meeting itself. It wasn't until a day or two before. But that's not an excuse, that's an explanation. So you're entitled to an apology, and I'm apologizing to you for that. Now, as you know, at public comment, speakers get 3 minutes to talk, and board members have an opportunity to comment on things they said. And I'm going to make a comment concerning a couple things that Mr. Crawford said. First of all, it's not my job to defend Ms. Lewis or any member of the board, but I want to tell you, for her integrity and honesty to be challenged because she didn't recuse herself is, it's unfounded. It's just untrue. I couldn't even tell you about how much respect I've gained for her over the last 3 years or so as a member and then as vice chair of the board. Her eye for detail and her eye for faithfulness to the law has always impressed me. I've seen nothing that would indicate that she's done anything unethical. Now, you talk about how somebody out in Oakland County handles a situation that you're saying is similar to that involving Ms. Lewis. I want you to know that Ms. Lewis sat on the committee that made proposed amendments to the commission to consider to make our board stronger and able to act in a more efficient, effective manner. One of the changes that she and that committee suggested to the commission was that we adopt a rule allowing for motions to disqualify a member of the board. We don't have such a rule right now. Just like earlier I said, we don't have a subpoena rule. We've got to depend on individuals like you, Mr. Crawford, the complainant, to produce evidence before us. It's significant to me to tell you this, to let you know. She never said at the time, oh, I don't like that rule. I don't think we should have that rule. I'd never want to disqualify myself. But the fact of the matter is right now, our rules do not have a procedure for a fine individual like yourself who complains to us to make a motion to disqualify a board member. So what she did, she followed the rules. There's no such rule. So what she had to do is she had to make a determination when you raised the issue if she wanted to consider that. She's never considered that. The next thing you really need to know is that there's supposed to be 7 members on the board. We only have 6 right now. We had a new one join us today. We're awaiting the appointment of a 7th member by the prosecutor in Wayne County. The interesting thing about all of us board members is this: we don't get paid. We don't get paid for service. It's volunteer service. We do it. I believe we do it because we're interested in seeing fairness and honesty within our county. And we do it because of our zeal and our interest in ethics. And that's the code that we enforce, is all about honesty and ethics. So you see, when you say those things, when you say such things about Miss Lewis, it's not my job to respond. I can't keep quiet. I wanted to crawl out of my seat when you were saying those things. It's just so untrue. So what the issue would be if she's a judge, if she was a judge in a case being heard over in Wayne County Circuit Court, the question really is always, is there bias? I haven't seen anything that causes me to believe she's biased. And then the last point I want to make is this, and I believe that I made this at the March meeting when you brought this subject up. Every one of the board members were appointed by somebody. We're appointed by one of the 7 executives in the county. So invariably, all of us on any given day are going to come into a meeting where we could be faced with a complaint filed against one of the 7 executives, people like the prosecutor, people like the treasurer, and on and on. That may happen. So what we look for is bias. I want to tell you, at both meetings, the March meeting and today, the only thing that I have heard you say that formed your opinion and your basis for saying that she's unethical, she didn't recuse herself, is because she didn't recuse herself. You haven't alleged that she's biased. You haven't alleged that she's married into somebody in a respondent's complaint that's being heard. So I take exception to that, but I'm not going to go on any longer. I just want you to know very respectfully, because you have been very respectful of the board each time you've appeared in front of us on both of your complaints, the first one and the second one. But we have rules that we have to follow, and we try to follow them. And when those rules need to be changed, we've proposed changes to them. Now, with that said, I would like to ask if there's any board member that wants to follow up on anything I've said or have any exchange with Mr. Crawford. Anybody, any board member? Okay, Dr. Ford, I'm calling on you. I see other individuals that may want to make comment too.
I just wanted to two things, Mr. Crawford. I wanted to commend you, patient to justice and fairness and what you feel is wrong. And I don't want you to be discouraged from the good work that you do, being an eye for justice for the culture. And I just want you to understand that this motion to dismiss doesn't mean that if there's evidence and there's corroboration that can come in, that you can't further another complaint. I want you to understand that we're not dismissing this with prejudice. This is a sort of a dismissal without prejudice, if I'm correct, because of the rules of evidence. The respondent have a right to cross-examine the witness, a Sixth Amendment right, have a right to challenge the evidence that's being brought up, and then if there's some physical evidence, it has to be authenticated. And so I just want you to nothing, that we just need the evidence present in order to go forward with your case. And then the last part, I also wanted to echo that our vice chair, that the standard is not whether there's an association or affiliation. We all have associations and affiliations with someone, but the standard, as our chair indicated, is bias. And so I would echo all the sentiments of our chair regarding Ms. Lewis, that she is a prudent and fair person. And I've seen no evidence of even any type of impropriety with respect to being fair and having the ability to adjudicate. I want to say that to thank you and encourage you to continue to work with you.
Well, I'm just gonna concur with all's been said, and that, every member of this board that has been appointed, because we can weigh the facts of what's presented to us, not personal feelings that may come in. Uh, Able to do that, and I believe in our careers. I know I have in my career. I've had issues come before me that I have had to weigh the facts, good or bad, and I weighed on the facts. So if a person doesn't like it or not, that's my job, as it is here. We have one coming up next month. I'm appointed by the commission. We have a commissioner that has been a complaint against her. So at that point, I'm gonna weigh the facts. Weigh the facts of the complaint, and that's how we operate here. Thank you.
I did. I wanted to say that Ms. Lewis has acted in the highest level of ethical standards and the highest level of integrity in her entire actions with the board. And I think these statements are inappropriate for any attack on her character.
I just want to thank my colleagues and the chairman for defending my honor here. You know, I took this volunteer opportunity to give back to Wayne County and the citizens and the people that work in this county. So, you know, I take offense to that, but, you know, I get it, you know, because you have in your mind what you think that I should have done. Hard to sit here in this chair and be appointed by someone. Yes, I go to church with him. But he appointed me because he called me. He said that I was one of the most highly integrity persons that he knew. So him saying that meant a lot to me, and that's really how I operate on this board. So, you know, I take offense to what you said, but I don't take it personally, you know, because you don't know me, you don't know anything about me, you don't know my integrity. So for you to say that, you know, words matter, but they're not gonna stick. And I just, you know, I just wish the best for you, whatever your endeavors are in this journey that you're taking with the sheriff. But, you know, I'm a highly integrity person and I'm not gonna take offense to what you're saying.
I'm sorry, we don't have anyone on Zoom at the moment, but she's trying to log in, so we can give her just a couple minutes. We don't have anyone currently online. She messaged me saying that she's trying to log in, so can we give her just a minute or so? Okay.
We'll give her 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Her name is Tara Brown.
I don't recognize that as a.
I really wanted to address in public comment was I read the ordinance for the ethics, where the ordinance that you use to make the ethics complaint. What I'm not clear on is it doesn't speak to other ethics violations, like if you know that county employees are being wasteful, or if you know that, a county employee's failure to act, caused the county a significant amount of money and things like that. So to address those things, would those things go directly to like a HR, or would those be things that could be raised to the ethics board as well? Or does it have to specifically just be what's in the ordinance that's on the ethics site?
We have to have a complaint form against a named respondent. There has to be rule violations cited. Now, I'm not going to say anything here today that would encourage you or discourage you from filing a complaint. But what I will say is this. What you really need to do is to send an email to the board, to our email address, and ask for our complaint form that will explain what type of information has to be included. And in addition to that, you'll get a little informational letter that tells you what we have authority over. But very generally, look in the form. If you look at the code rather, it will tell you what we have authority over and what we don't have authority over. Look for the word wasteful, waste of resources or something like that. I don't think you're going to really find anything in there, but take a look at it. But it's not our job to answer questions such as these during public comment. I'm doing it just to give you a little guidance. We're going to have Mr. Longstreet at some point in time. Could you look to see if we get an email from the individual that we're speaking to now to send her our informational packet? And I really believe that that'll be helpful for you. And we want to thank you very much for contacting us with your question. Okay, thank you. Nobody else for public comment? Well, I have to tell you, does somebody want to make a motion to close the meeting? Mr. Ford, Mr. Regis, our newest member.
So move that the meeting be adjourned.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we stand adjourned. I will tell you, we had originally scheduled our June meeting for the 19th. Subsequent to that being scheduled, we backed it off till the 12th. So our next meeting is June the 12th in this room. We're still going to be in this room as of next month. I hope everybody has a nice month. Be safe. See you next month.